Hey y'all, it's Mel Morris, and I'm back with our 5 card tarot spread for the week. And let's see, we've been in this Mercury Retrograde now. We're about halfway through. Hopefully, you're able to hold some things together. So let's see what is going on this week. All right, so let's start in our spiritual connection placements, and here we have 4 cups, which we saw last week. Next we have our love and happiness, which we have our 9 of Swords. Let's see. Next we have our love and relationships card. That is the King of Swords. Next, we have our business and career. That is 10 of Pentacles. And last but not least, for our overall card, we have the Wheel of Fortune. I always want to sing the theme song when I see this card. So, okay. So let's take a look. Overall, there's not, I wouldn't say there's really any bad cards here, but there is kind of a darkness, kind of a coldness. Maybe that's a better word I want to use in the cards, but we'll take a look at each one by itself. So let's start with our spiritual connection, and here we have the 4 of Cups. Now, we had the 4 of Cups last week for our overall card, and it was about balance, right? It was during the full moon in Cancer. But this week for this 4 of Cups, I still am getting this idea of grounding and centering, and because it's in this spiritual connection placement, I do feel like kind of a carryover from last week. So this idea of continuing to ground yourself, continuing to really find some solitude, right? Finding some time to yourself is going to be really helpful in helping you to just ground your energy and just figure out, we're still, now we're in the waning phase of the moon, after the full moon. So the energy is slowing, right? We're getting darker and darker as we move towards the new moon. And this is the time really to ground ourselves and really get focused in. And there's something about the ground here, which looks kind of like a greenish yellow. And I don't know, it just feels... It feels like you might feel a little bit out of sorts this week. You might really find yourself connecting to spirit quite a bit more this week, and you might feel it as something unusual. You might not recognize that it really is about connection. But if you really can spend a little bit of time, again, either meditation, journaling, something that allows you to just connect within, I think you're really going to feel it very strongly, but you may not recognize it as connecting to spirit. So just trust in yourself that you can do it, that you have so many answers within, even if you don't believe it, even if you don't believe in yourself. Yeah, there's something about this card this week. Okay, so let's move on to our health and happiness card. And here we've got the 9 of Swords. Now, this card does, even though it's a 9, it's ramping us up towards completion. It feels like a completion of thoughts that you've been having, fearful thoughts, right? That maybe I'll never be happy, maybe maybe I won't be able to, figure everything out, whatever everything is, whatever you're telling yourself everything is. And the good thing about this time, excuse me, the good thing about this time of this waning phase of the moon is that it is a time for reflection. It is a time where you may feel a little, not that you may feel more sad, you may be more open to feeling the negative feelings and thoughts that we all have, that you have to experience, you have to get through. You may, again, just be connecting with that a little bit more this week. And so don't let it bum you out. Just recognize that it's okay, right? You have to feel all the feelings. You have to allow yourself to go through whatever pain needs to pass through, whatever heartache needs to pass through. This just may be a time where you are experiencing it, you are acknowledging it a bit more, but it's about to pass, right? We're at the 9, we're at the phase where we're about to wrap things up. And so just, again, let it go through you. Go back to that spiritual connection card of sitting with yourself and really figuring out how to ground yourself. All right, next, let's move on to love and relationships. And here we have the King of Swords. And the King of Swords here feels like you are in control of a situation related to your relationships, but it feels a little cold, right? Again, it's swords energy. It's about our thoughts, not whether they're real or not. They're just thoughts. But it feels a little bit cold. It feels like you maybe are trying to distance yourself and kind of put some walls up around yourself to protect yourself in relationships. So maybe you've, been feuding with someone. Maybe things haven't worked out the way that you had planned recently. And so you've kind of put this barrier up around yourself, telling yourself that I got this, I don't need that person, or, I'm stronger than this, so on and so forth. And, there are times that you do have to protect yourself, right? You do have to put yourself first. You do have to put some things in place to make sure that you are protecting your heart. And if that's where you are this week, okay. All right. If you've gone through something and you just need to put that wall up, put that barrier up and feel as though you are in control for a moment, it's okay. Right? Do that. Take a breath, lean into it, feel your power, feel that strength that comes with being in control, but just remember that you can't stay there forever. Right? You can't stay in that space. You have to be able to come out of that, right? To open yourself back up, to take that wall down. So keep that in mind after this week. But if you need to go through that this week, do what you got to do. Okay. Now, over on the other side of the pond, for our business and career, we've got 10 of Pentacles. So this feels wonderful. This 10 of Pentacles feels really good in our business and career. It feels like you are communicating with people. It feels like you have people around you who are supporting you and are happy about what you're doing right now. I know we've been struggling a little bit in this area, and I'm sure Mercury Retrograde has not helped in this situation, but it feels like this week you're starting to, really get to a point where you're feeling a little bit more freedom, you're feeling a little bit more confident in what you're doing within your business. And you're sharing that with people, and it starts to feel good. And you can start to make a plan now. You can start to see your future a little bit more and see how what you're doing now, the work that you're doing right now, how that's really going to help you to continue to grow into, I always think of kind of legacy when I see this card. how what you're doing right now is starting to help you to build towards your legacy. So that feels really good this week. All right, last but not least, we've got our overall card, which is the Wheel of Fortune. And in general, as just a general card, the Wheel of Fortune is usually about luck, right? It usually is a lucky card. But the message overall is always that, there's always going to be ups and downs, right? Wherever you are right now, you're going to be someplace else tomorrow or next week or next month, right? For better or for worse. And for me, what really jumped out this week at this card was, and you'll see in the image, I'll make sure we pop it back up, is this monkey with the blindfold on the very top of the wheel. And it feels like this unknown mischief that's going to come in this week. So like something, it may feel like everything's running smooth, everything's going good. I'm finding some balance, maybe a little sad, a little hurt, but I'm standing strong. I'm moving through things. And then this weird, like out of the blue thing just kind of pops up, right? It doesn't necessarily even feel bad. It just feels like something completely out of the blue may turn up and completely change the situation, right? Maybe it will knock you out of the funk that you were in. Maybe it will knock you off course of, that feeling back in our love and relationship, that feeling that, oh, I'm strong, I'm tough, I don't need anybody. But something's going to come along. And it's going to, again, I don't know what it is about this week. I just feel like there's this weird energy that is going to be very strong, but you're not really going to know what it is. And this Wheel of Fortune is going to kind of flip the script, if you will, about whatever's going on in your life when it happens. So I'd love to hear what that turns out to be for you. And I'll make some notes and let you know how that came up for me as well. So I hope this was helpful. I want to make sure to remind you that this week on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, I will be together with my crew, the Magical Cartographers. We will be continuing the conversation from our podcast. So we have 2 podcast episodes out right now. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, make sure you go do that. They're all about exiting, right? The exit interview, parts 1 and 2. Make sure you check those out and then join us Tuesday night live. You can bring your questions, bring your stories, share your experience of exiting, right? What that looks for you. So we'll be continuing the conversation live, and I hope you can join us. So that's it for today. Let me know how things go. Let me know how your week goes, how all this kind of plays out for you. So we're still pushing through Mercury retrograde. So we're going to get through it. We're going to get to the other side. All right. Stay magical, y'all.